Good evening, good afternoon, and good morning. I am Frozen Melon, and today we will be doing our ladder climb still, but this time it's going to be a little bit different. So we kind of had a quick run through some of the core decks for just a game, seeing how they play, and going through that. And what I've actually done at the moment is I've kind of designed a deck up, which I've got here, which is a token druid deck. So this is completely my own design as far as it goes. If there's any similarities to other decks out there at the moment, it is purely just a coincidence that we kind of thought the same idea. So with this deck, what I've done is I've taken the Infuse mechanic as a basis, and the Famished Fool was sort of the inspiration for this deck, of being able to draw 3 cards, which is quite nice, or just drawing a card. So I can play this turn 5, draw cards. The Stoneborn Accuser is kind of the burst of the deck, in essence, so I'm just going to be playing that, hopefully turn 5, maybe a little bit later, and just dealing 5 damage to my opponent's face, going over taunts, things like that. Now, sort of other decks to gain value, we do have the Park Panther here, so it can rush into a minion and give me 3 attack, which I can go face. Miralocular for that sort of tempo play, plus a little bit of lifesteal to try to drag those games out. And here's the other version that I wanted to use as well, which is Plot of Sin, which again, with the Infuse, I get 2 5/5s. So if I can get that early, that's going to be great. After that, we've got sort of the Herald of Nature. So I do have a lot of nature spells in this deck going through. So this can buff my board, give some surprise damage, hence why it's in the deck as well. Thorngrove Sentries, nature spell, summons more minions. And then we got the Spirit of the Tides. Now this is one of those things where sometimes I might have extra mana, and I want sort of a conducive threat that will just kind of get stronger and stronger through the early game. It might force my opponents to have other answers. This is just kind of a tech card that I thought would be interesting to have in, because yeah, it might do something interesting, you never know. Power of the Wild, buff the board or summon a minion. Natural Causes, deals damage, summons a treant, that's quite useful as well. Claw-free Adept, with this particular card, it is there just to kind of have a bit of burst damage and kind of go face, but also give me a 2 mana body if I do need to play it. Vibrant Scroll allows me to summon more tokens onto the board as well, which is something that we're looking to do with the deck, as well as like drawing cards, so all kind of goes there. The Plant Evidence is basically there, so the fact that I can have some form of late game stuff if I need it. So you have to discover things there. Living Roots, 2 damage, or basically token generation. And Aquatic Form is there to pick out some of these sort of later game cards and just basically draw them straight away if I need to. At least that's the kind of function of the deck. How it's going to perform, I don't really know. So let's just take it into our first game and see how we get along. Okay, Paladin. So I want to be on board as much as I can. That is the main point of the deck. And that is what I want to do. So Park Panther, you're being tossed, and so is Power of the World here as well, because I've got the Spirit of the Tides. So yeah, this deck kind of just came about with the idea of the fact that I wanted to kind of use the new Infuse mechanic. And I will say it now, ever since I played like Magic the Gathering and sort of those sort of card games, tokens have always been my favourite decks to play. Playing this now means I don't get anything on there, but dealing 2 damage is pointless, so I'll play this. It triggers this, which is nice, and I get a 3/2. So now I've got something that I can buff the board with if I need to, so I can turn this to a 4/4 next turn. But against a mech deck, what are we going to do? Indeed, what will we do? We'll just do that and trade. Mech decks are a nightmare for me, just the fact that I have no way to destroy really big minions. So the main thing I want to do is, yeah, just make sure that I have enough to kind of control the boards quite nicely. Now here, I probably want to go wide on board Making the trade now is a good idea, but I need to kind of finish the game quickly also. So next turn is the turn we end up wanting to use the aquatic form. So this is kind of what I expect the deck to function like in other aspects of it and just sort of in general. That's not bad, but I kind of need other stuff as well. So this is where the aquatic form comes into its own. Stoneborn Accuser. We're then going to play this to buff my entire board, which is quite nice. And I will hero power this now, and we'll kill that off. So this is what I meant when I kind of had the aquatic form to draw those late game cards, is the fact that I have a board, I just need a card. And you have a really good way of being able to do that. So here it's worth using this and just rushing into it. I will also not hero power as well, because I want to give my minion more, and I don't think 1 health will make a difference. But now we've got them in range if they kill my minions off, and I've got this next turn as well. Yeah, they are really trying to go for it, aren't they? So 2 5/5s. Hits. Play that. I do like it when my kind of random creation actually functions quite well. Because now they kill any of these off, I've got 10 damage in hand, which is quite nice. And they're dead next turn unless they play a taunt. So... Okay. So I don't expect this to go further or any longer, so I'm going to trade this into here. So I think it's the best thing to do. Next up is push that face. I have to deal the 5 damage to face. And because I don't think it's any further, I will play this out rather than using my hero power. If they heal, and I've just got to accept that. But this means the fact they can't get the draw card. So whatever they've got now is what they've got in hand. And if they don't clear my board, I basically win from this position, which is quite nice. Now I thought they were kind of a mech deck, but it looks like they're not, so... But I think that is game. No? Okay, but that is game this way. You do like it when a deck comes together. So the next thing I always like to do, especially sort of towards the end of the games, is I will tend to look back at the deck. So this is sort of what I would tell a lot of people to do, is if you're kind of trying to specialize in a class or basically focusing around a particular aspect of a deck, is just looking over the deck and thinking to yourself, what cards do you think were good? What cards did you draw that kind of did something and what cards didn't? And could they had a bigger impact in the game? Like this wasn't bad, it got removal. This was semi-okay, it had a stuff on board. This was just a really good card to have. Plot of Sin did exactly what I wanted it to. We didn't draw the molecular. the Park Panther did again what it needed to do, and so did the Stoneborn Accuser. So I actually had like really kind of good setup into what I needed to happen. So I wouldn't change anything just yet with the deck, but this sort of self-reflection on the decks and think to yourself, okay, what are my options, what worked well, what didn't, and kind of doing this consistently through every deck. You're not doing it to make changes all the time. You're just doing it to make yourself aware of what cards would I take out if I needed to. So it's kind of breaking down that deck construction and sort of why you pick certain cards, what you're using them for. And then if you are thinking, okay, I want to maybe I do want to take out the, in this case, say the Thorn Grow Sentries, okay? I've got to think, okay, now what does the Thorn Grow Sentries do? What is this aspect of it? So this is the bit where I said to a lot of people, where it's like, okay, so it's basically a token generation card, 2-mana play. So what I want to do is look at a 2-mana play that is going to generate me tokens or do things along those sort of lines where it's going to give me that sort of sense of value or board pressure. So first options might be looking at it are kind of like, okay, well, I've already got Power of the Wild in there. I've already got a 2-drop. So would the Wicker Claw be better than that? I mean, there is the option, but this has synergy with the Herald, so I want a nature spell that maybe does that. And maybe do I need to be more proactive? Or no, I've got enough spells that do stuff on board. And kind of going through this process of that sort of elimination, you are kind of going, okay, maybe that card is the best one. And then you look sort of into the rest of the cards thinking, okay, well, if I can't get anything else, what would I change it for here? And I know with the original deck construction idea, there was a talk of me thinking, okay, maybe Direwolf Alpha could be an option, or the Corporal could be an option, because I'm going to have tokens, I want to buff my board. The Encumbered Pack Mule was an option as well, to give me sort of, again, a bit of a stronger body, and basically a 2-mana play that I could play more consistently. But then again, I have to play 2-mana, then 2-mana for it, so is it actually any better in the long run? And this is sort of how you break down those style of decks and kind of refine your deck idea. Like Loot Hoarder could be a good option in this deck to maybe draw an extra card and help cycle a bit more efficiently, but then what would I take out? In my opinion, if I was really looking at it, the Spirit of the Tides is the card I'd end up taking out, but this could have good impact on certain games, but maybe not so much in later games, depending on how they go as well. And this is it, and this is basically what you do. Like something around 2-drop could be good or bad. I chose to ignore it for the moment, but it might be something where I'm playing it in there for the high roll potential. And then you've got things like the Priest of the Deceased. The Infuse mechanic with this, giving it +2/+2, again could be a good late game option, or even the Ram Commander to summon stuff with Rush. But yeah, kind of thought I'd show you that as sort of like, this is the thing that I end up doing every game that I end up playing. And it kind of gives you the idea of sort of why you might be making a decision to do something, what cards you might think of replacing, because with this deck here, every card might have a purpose, but it's whether you can benefit from other cards having a better purpose than that one. And that is the way to kind of think about your deck construction idea is, why am I picking this card? Is there a card as a better option than this card? Do they do the same thing? Do they not? What is the main objective of the deck? And then breaking everything down from that point there. So I hope this kind of helps you with your own ideas, that you're thinking, okay, I want to play around a mechanic, what's the best option to do that, and kind of doing things one at a time. A lot of people think building a deck or getting a deck construction idea, it can be very complicated. I've got to balance my mana, I've got to balance the curve, I've got to make sure I have the right cards, do I need removal, do I not need removal? And those questions come with the answers when you ask the questions themselves, if that makes sense. So you kind of got to think to yourself, okay, what is the purpose of the deck? Does this deck actually need removal if that's its purpose? No, it doesn't. I mean, my entire deck doesn't need removal as far as things go. The only reason the natural cause in there is just summon a 2/2, more or less. So is this really something I want to have in that deck or not? And this might be something I end up cutting because of that particular reason. But anyway, do hope you enjoyed this. Do hope this gave a bit more insight on kind of like what I'm doing with these construction decks. We'll probably play this deck a few more games as well. Then we'll end up probably moving on to a different one. And if you've got any ideas, do leave it down in the comments of any sort of classes you want me to play or deck ideas you think might be interesting, and I can see if I can make something from there. But anyway, subscribe if you enjoyed the video, give it a like as well if you did, and I'll see you all in the next one. Take care.